Did you make the right page? Which page is it?
Well, we left off last time. That's where we're starting at this time.
That's good. I was going to start here from the beginning. Ruth and Boaz. Is it there?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got it actually. It's like maybe a third of the way down towards the end of the line.
Tzadok is speaking a lot about the Ohr HaGonuz. Ohr HaGonuz, just to review the concept here. Rabbi Yaacov, why don't you come closer? So far away. The Ohr HaGonuz, the spectacular light of sorts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created at the beginning of the Bria, and then he hid it away, put it in Shemus, Atzeif Kol HaDoros, and this Ohr HaGonuz is going to be Niskala B'Yemois HaMashiach. Ohr HaGonuz Adam Raya Misoif Oilam Atzeif Oilam. There was a certain clarity, I presume it means, certain clarity that existed in the Bria of the world, but this clarity was not to be made available, not meant to be available to Rishayim, it was not meant to be available to Acher HaChet of Adam HaRishon, because clarity can also be dangerous. Mystery is sometimes good. Not knowing is also a malchus. So the Ohr HaGonuz, the Ohr was Gonuz. And the hisgalus of the Ohr, clarity starts to come back as the development towards the Yemois HaMashiach comes back. Things start to become clear. That's the story with the Ohr HaGonuz. So it says, Rav Tzadok, just Ruth and Boaz, the coming, the joining of Ruth to Boaz, Shahaya Haschola Lehisnoitzitzus Ohr Hazeh. What was happening when Ruth and Boaz were coming together, the new seed of Mashiach was being planted, David HaMelech, David Malka Mashiach. So Boaz was a product of Yehuda and Tamar. Ruth was a product of light of Yosef. Total unclarity, total I always say like this, Yehuda and Tamar, is there a bigger place in the Chumash where you can mark a big question mark? Like Mazeh. Strange. Isn't it so interesting? We learned how the story of Yehuda and Tamar is exactly in the Chumash, like it doesn't seem to have a makom in the Chumash, but Vayihi Ba'isahi, it was exactly at the time that the brothers were selling Yosef down to Mitzrayim. So there was a parallel story going on, the story in the Chumash, clear. There was a parallel story of Mechiras Yosef and Yehuda and Tamar.
Similar to Vayered Yosef, Vayered Yehuda.
Vayered Yosef, Vayered Yehuda. Vayihi Ba'isahi. Vayihi Ba'isahi. So, okay, like you don't have to be a Mekubal to understand that what was going on there in the Parsha was that there was a Haschola, or as Rav Tzadok calls it so poetically, a Hisnoitzitzus, blossoming of Mashiach ben Yosef, and at the same time, Vayihi Ba'isahi, there was a blossoming of Mashiach ben Dovid.
What a way to do it, though.
It's so clear in the, I mean, Halavai would be clear, like what was going on over here. Who knows if they knew what was going on? What was going on over here with Mechiras Yosef, creating a Mashiach ben Yosef. V'hu Moshel b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. And Yehuda and Tamar, as we keep on saying, was coming from a very, has to be very, very earthy, has to go very, very low in order to get to David HaMelech, because it's malchus. Malchus means that it's tzemach David Abduch, and right into the ground. And you watch the story, because Yosef resisted the avera of Ashes Potifar. Yehuda was different. So there's a difference here between Mashiach and Mashiach. Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef. Vahi ba'Isahi, Vayered. Vayered Daika. It was a Yerida Atzuma. But that was a Yerida L'tzarech Aliyah. So we have these two concepts from the beginning of Yosef, or the beginning of Yehuda, to the end of Yosef, to the end of Yehuda. And the next step in Malchus Beit Dovid is Boaz and Ruth. So Boaz and Ruth have to be, as Rav Tzadok tells us over here, Bias Ruth L'Boya Shahaya Haschala Lehisnoitzus Ohr HaGanuz. So remember what we're learning here. That when Yehuda and Tamar come together, it's choshech. It's mystery. It's the lack of Ohr. Like, how much can you be Gonuz-The Ohr? How much can you be Gonuz-The Ohr? To a point of Yehuda and Tamar. Not commenting on it. That's good, bad, what, but whatever it is, it's a mystery to us, right? It's certainly not Ohr. It's not the Ohr of Sheshes Yemei Breishis. It's Ohr HaGonuz. It's a hidden Ohr. But the hidden Ohr, just to make it clear, I want to repeat it one more time, the hidden Ohr is malchus. You understand this? Because in order for something to become malchus, in order for a plant to grow, it has to be buried into the ground where you can't see it. Not only can you not see it, it's where is it exactly, but it rots in the ground. That's the chita of Tchias HaMesim. So that's the tzemach Dovid Avdecha Meheres Tzmiach, that David HaMelech, which is malchus, has to come from a tzemach. Matzmiach Yeshua. Yeshua comes from a tzemach. It means that it's buried. When you bury something, it's called Geniza. So that's the Ohr HaGonuz. So we're waiting for the light. We're waiting for this light to reappear. What we're waiting for is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's original intention by the Sheshes Yemei Breishis, when he created this Ohr, before he even created the sun and the moon. He created this Ohr. We're waiting for the tikun to come to the point where the Ohr is the skull again. We have clarity. Az yemlא shchok פינו. When we'll have clarity. We had moments of clarity in history. The Medrash Yalkut Shemati says that that when Mashiach comes, he's going to come with a baguette, says the Yalkut Shemati, B'Shalach. And when Mashiach comes, he's going to, on his baguette, it's going to say Oz all over the place. Imagine this, Oz. Oz baguette.
The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz.
Very good. They had these...
Oz, what is that?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Oz.
All over the place.
Yeah. Okay, there's drushes, but the pshat is Oz, says the Yalkut Shemati. I don't know if the pshat on the sides of your slide, but the pshat in a baguette shel Oz is a moment in history of Gibli Ohr HaGonuz. So we say Oz Yashir Moshe Bnei Yisrael. Whoa, we see something we never seen before, and we're not going to see it again for a while. Oz Yimlא shchok פינו, and every other Oz that's there. Oz Yidabru Ish Oreu. Also a moment. So there's such a thing as an Oz moment. Like maybe like we could be zocha to a moment of Oz. Hiskalus, where Oz.
Oz form is a bechina of vasidlav Oz and the galus. The mouse peep schok ve'elam hazeh.
That's the yemlא shchok
פינו, but before I mean.
Amash Yafeh. Amash Yafeh. What are we laughing so much on Purim? So Oz Yemlא Shchok פינו, like if you don't have clarity, you don't laugh. The fact that the laughing that we do these days is usually from a sense of irony, where something doesn't make sense. That's what's funny.
That's what you just said.
It doesn't make any sense. Like it's the stira is good for what makes us laugh. But Oz Yemlא Shchok פינו, and it's the Chazal are so adapting this. Osir l'malei schok pinu b'olam hazeh. It's osir, not just we. Don't think you have clarity when you don't have clarity. So there's an oz moment. That's what the Malchut says. The Mashiach is going to come with a bag of malei oz. It's going to say oz all over the place. I hope not literally, because it would offend my stylish. but it means that all of the different kashas that we've had throughout history, and all of the bechiyos that we've had through history, and all of the things that could not be reconciled in our minds in history, all of a sudden when Mashiach comes, hasimon nafal, Oz Yemlא Shchok פינו, it's a beg of Oz.
The mantra is 8, it's above nature.
Above nature, exactly right. The touch of Oz, as Rabbi Yaacov says, this is Maral clearly, that Oz means that there's something happened l'mala min teva. 7 is teva, says the Maral. Oz is l'mala min teva. Zayin plus aleph. Happen to the Maral. Oz Yemlא Shchok פינו. So, okay, so that's the Ohr HaGanuz. Again, the Ohr HaGonuz, very important. The Ohr HaGonuz had to be Gonuz because Gonuz is how we get malchus. And malchus means that if anyone or anything, any madrega that's reached throughout history is in any way in an ivory tower, or any kind of tower, made out of whatever it is, but it's not deep in dererd, buried in the ground, it's not 100% yet real. It has to go through the whole matzmiach Yeshua. I was thinking that just a little political statement. It's a political zman, but I was thinking in my youth, so to see Gedolim like from a different generation, like Skilu like Reisius Rameir Be'achoyrov. To speak with Rav Feinstein, I got to speak with the Stipler. I think I was so rachik from them, like a little kid looks to a giant, but you saw a little bit, able to see the Satmar Rebbe. I went to the Satmar Rebbe for a bracha and spoke with him. I was a shliach of Rav Scheinberg. So he would be like 105 now, also a different generation. Able to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I saw so many times. Rav Hutner, Rabbi Yaacov Haber. Baruch Hashem, like I just was Alpines was able to see these Gedolim and Tzadikim, and I was thinking about it. There's not a comment on today's Gedolim. I'm just talking about that. It's so interesting how, if you look at it, if you watch the history, not necessarily like the art scroll history, but like the real history of each one of these Gedolim, they really paid their dues, like Stipler's chuvas about what he did when he was in the Russian army. If this chuva of the Stipler, whether they made him do target practice on Shabbos. So the Stipler, the Kaddish is clearing. Is it better to hold it straight and shoot the bullseye and get out of there? Is it better to shoot with the shidui and be shooting all day? Stipler in the Russian army is clearing this. This was not Koil, the Russian army. This was not Panovich, This was we're not talking about Brisk, So he had, and he writes how there was another guy, and I can't remember who it was, not somebody I heard of, but another guy, I think he was killed, with him in the army, and they had a machlekes, a learning on Hilchos Shabbos, whether it's better to hold the gun with a shidui, not hold the gun with a shidui. And the Stipler held he should hold it with the shidui. The other one says, no, let's shoot it and get out of here. Like, one shot is better. One shot by avera or 50 shots with the shidui. So the end of the story was the Stipler writes, this is the Kilos Yaakov on Shabbos. The Stipler writes that he held it with a shidui. He got it at the first time, Siyata Dishmaya. The other guy held it hold it right. He was there all day. Okay. Rav Moshe Feinstein talks about how it's very difficult for him to be makel in listening to music during any time, any kind of music during any time of the Sfiras HaOmer, because the pogrom that took place in his city and killed almost the whole city was on Lag BaOmer. The things that the Gedolim went through, Rav Moshe speaks about how he remembers in his time the mothers used to deliberately malnutrition their children so that they shouldn't grow tall. They knew which vitamin not to give them, so that they shouldn't grow, I think it was B12 or so that they shouldn't grow tall and therefore be exempt from the Russian army. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, like the stories of him with the Russians, how they with one lie, with one milsa de shikra, he could have gotten out of the army, and he said something, and in fact I think it was that the Russian commander said, "You're lying," and Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky looked him straight in the eye. He says, "I never lied." That the tests that the Gedolim had were everyone, mamish everyone. I mean, the stories they didn't just, it's not just like you go to cheder, and then you go to high school, and then you go to yeshiva gedolah, and then you go to kollel, and then eventually, boom, godel, get your badge. There was a huge initiation price that had to be paid. All the gedolah. You look at the stories of Rav Kook drag around in Europe, wherever take wherever you want to the Malbim, the Chavetz Chaim, any of the gedolim. Those I didn't see already, but I'm talking about the ones that I myself saw. So what is that? What is that hardship all about? The hardship is about malchus. The hardship is about malchus, because until you're buried by Oretz, there's no matzmiach Yeshua. It's a very, very difficult thing to do for Klal Yisrael. It's a very difficult thing, but to come out of is the chita shel Mashiach. It's the chita of Tiyas HaVesim. To be able to sprout, you have to have this kind of malchus. So, if it's in any way protected, and I'm not saying we should dafka go there. It was a kach gazer Hashem, but there's so much discussion, philosophical discussion amongst those that are open enough to discuss it, whether it's correct to be sheltering our children, or is that not the real world? So it's hard to certainly requires gedolim to pass these things. But what I'm saying is it's interesting that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was gazar that the real gedolim were not sheltered. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anybody should go l'chaptila, but the real gedolim had to be moded with the world in a very, very serious way. And Mamela, you know what? Anybody who came to them with almost any kind of an issue or any kind of a problem or any kind of a circumstance, they related to it. They saw everything. They related to what it means to have to be Machalel Shabbos. They related to what it means to have to make decisions which are difficult decisions. They related to poor property, and they related to taiva. They relate to being in a makom nisayon. Whereas if you're aloof, even the slightest, you can't relate to that. So just an interesting ha'ara in godless, because godless has to do with malchus. I mean, if nothing else, the gedolim that ran from Europe, Rav Aaron and Rav Hutner, and they ran away from Europe and from that carbon, from Mamish walking like a phoenix out of the ashes, on the boats, Rav Aaron, they say Rav Aaron, on the ship coming to America, was talking with the oilam around him how he's going to start a yeshiva in America. Like, relax for a couple of years. Go to Hawaii for a little bit. I mean, what's the...
It's like Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, like he had a vision.
Alam Makom is talking to the space. You're thinking you have it, right? 100%. This is so. The Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai is a perfect example of malchus, and the malchus meant complete anivus, because what did he do with his malchus? Give over the nesias to Rabbi Gamliel, to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, to Malchus, to Shalshalta de Gabliasa. It's like complete bittul. So the bittul is the words for malchus. So let me just teach you a little bit of Hasidus here. there's a concept of, Tanya speaks about this by Riches. Others also, the Tanya is easy, accessible. There's a bechina of iskafia, and there's a bechina of hishafchia. You familiar? Iskafia means that you are forcing yourself to go against your nature. Lashon koifa, kfia. Hishafchia means you're changing your nature. So Tanya is Ma'arich, what's a Beinani, what's a Tzadik V'Raloi, what's a Tzadik V'Toivloi. But the two concepts are the difference between Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben Dovid. So Mashiach ben Yosef is a Bechina of Iskafias, it's taken from the Zayar. And Mashiach ben Dovid is a Bechina of Ishafchia. There's a complete Haficha. Things are turned over. Pirush HaDvarim, to make it easier, that the difference between Yosef and David is Yosef was Midas HaYesod, and David was Midas Malchus. So Midas HaYesod is, right, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod is almost there, but it's just a little bit aloof. Just a little bit above the ground. Yesod, Midas HaYesod, which is tikun abris, Midas HaYesod is where all of the ruchnias and all of the tzimtzum and all of the spheres and everything comes down to earth. It's like such an unbelievable place where heaven touches earth. This is Midas HaYesod. This is where Yosef was. You see this whole life where he was taking Yaakov and bringing him to Goshen, bringing him to Mitzrayim, taking Klal Yisrael and bringing it to Mitzrayim. I mean, you can't get anything more earthy than Mitzrayim. You can't get anything more holy than Yaakov. And as Yaakov Abanov went to Mitzrayim, and whoa, Mitzrayim, Mitzrayim got pretty bad there. It got pretty hot and heavy. Mitzrayim, like it started off like a little bit of Yesod, but it went all the way to Malchus. So Yosef was at the beginning. Vayakom melech chadash, shelo yadas Yosef. Now it's all about Moshe Rabbeinu. Now it's about Malchus. Now it's a different place.
What's Atzmos?
Atzmos Yosef. Very interesting. Let's hold that question. What are the Atzmos Yosef? How do they fit into this? But you understand, Yosef was Yesod, so Yosef was a little bit not completely permeated into the earth. Just started the process. But Malchus is Malchus. By the time Yaakov became old, Bikesh Yaakov l'galus is HaGanuz. He was holding already by Mashiach. He was holding already by Mashiach. We're holding already by Malchut Mashiach. Because Yaakov l'galus is HaGanuz. Sitting here with my 12 sons. But no, there wasn't. There was more. There was a whole Mitzrayim that had to happen before we can come to Geula. Geula's Mitzrayim. So it means that Yosef, just please keep in mind the parallel. I don't have a whiteboard here, but keep in mind that Midas HaYesod, tikun habris, is iskafia, and Midas David Malchut Mashiach is hisafcha. So iskafia is you're still forcing the issue of tikun habris. You're still forcing. It's not natural to me. I'm not changed over completely. Midas HaYesod is a tikun. And that has to happen. So the Mashiach ben Yosef is at a time where there's a struggle. So there's not really, the struggle means you don't really have the gilui of the Ohr HaGonuz. But Midas David, Midas Malchus is more than a struggle. It's almost a defeat. It's so deep in the ground, but from there is Matzbiach Yeshua. So it's much worse, Malchus is much worse, but it's much worse. I always quote the Rav Nachman. I give a Rav Nachman that he said he surpassed the Baal Shem Tov because the Baal Shem Tov wasn't bad enough. He wasn't bad enough.
Interesting how the Sapphire is the lowest, deepest place that we have in this world is in the Tahaim, the Makam, which is the Makam right underneath the Makam of Migdash, is the Tahaim. But the deepest place
Piskoi Shel Gehenna.
Yeah, the deepest place, that's where there's the revelation is related above that. And the place of Hafchira is when the Kohen is going to shech the par, or duma, and he's going to be able to take Misa and make it tahor. There's no greater flipping.
Everyone here is paraduma.
And when he does that, he needs to have a direct line of sight to the makom above the Eben Shasiya, by the Mizbeach. He has to be connected to that makom, and it's the same idea of it's a hard word to say. His
Hafchia.
Of the flipping.
I nominate Rav Shmuel for Kohen Gadol. Not just a Kohen, understands what his job is, You got enough better. But look, paraduma. Paraduma is the ultimate is Hafchia.
He has to be connected to the makom, the Haim as well.
Yeah. So you have to be bad. You have to be bad. Okay, so...
That's not the issue here, though, right? That's not the issue now, on that line.
Okay, so we have, let's just understand here, we have the Desayid of Yosef, you have the Desayid of Yehuda and Tamar. You have the Desayid of Yosef, the Desayid, tikun, and you have the Desayid of Yehuda and Tamar. Whose Desayid was bigger? Mashma, Yehuda and Tamar was bigger. We don't know much about that. But okay.
I'm saying that's...
So like this. Ruth, now let's fast forward in history.
In the gluey aspect of it, it was going to be someone who's going to be Chayav Misa coming out of the thing. I mean, it was pretty.
Right.
Yeah. With fire over there, yeah.
And out comes Boaz. Boaz, father of Mashiach. Ubevias Ruth Boaz, says Rav Tzadok Shaya Haschola Liisnoitzitz's Ohr HaGanuz, buried so deep, but then we're waiting for the first bud to come out. And the first bud of the Matzmiach Yeshua was by Boaz and Ruth. So where Yehuda and Tamar hitting rock bottom, even worse, Benois light and light, Boyav hitting rock bottom like that. Okay, where's the hisnoitzitzus already? Like what are we getting from this? Where's the blossoming? And the blossoming started by Ruth and Boaz. So Bevias Ruth Boaz Shayas Chala Hisnoitzitzus Ohr HaGanuz. So far it was before the first 5 words here. Hisnoitzitzus Ohr HaGanuz. B'soif Ma'aseh shel kol davar yesh hisgalus l'shorish hadavar. You could start seeing a glimpse of what was going on at the shorish hadavar by the end. Gab b'haschala k'may she'amar ba'or d'yom rishon. Let's leave that for a second. V'chein vaday oz b'voyaz v'rus. There was a or malkein amroi, and that's why it says takfoy shel Yosef ad masanusay shel Boaz. Anybody remember the reference? So the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, thank you. Let's see. Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin Yud Test. So the Gemara follows. Interesting Gemara. We're talking about Palti Ben Laish. Know him? You know Palti Ben Laish? Shaul HaMelech had a daughter, Michal. Michal married who? David. But then Shaul didn't like that, so he took her away from David, and she married Palti Ben Laish. Sometimes he's called Palti, sometimes he's called Paltiel. Then when David took over Malchus, the Malchus, so he took her back. Michal became his wife again.
You're not allowed to do that.
So you're not allowed to do that if she was with another man.
Right.
So comes the Gemara and says that she was never with Palti. Your kasha. Gemara says never with Palti. See Palti, see Paltiel. Aber Rabbi Yochanan Palti Shmai. That was Palti. Lama Nikra Shmai Paltiel Sheplatai El Mina Avera, because he was saved from the avera, or he didn't do the avera. Me'asa, what did he do? As Eitan says, Me'asa, no, he was with. It was like a gzeira. He was with Michal Bashol. Here's your wife, beautiful woman, by the way. The Gemara says that she had a tremendous amount of yofi. Me'asa no'atz cherev beinoy lebeinoh. Means they slept in one bed, but he put a double-edged sword over there.
Oh, yeah.
This is not a school for Shalom Bayis. No'atz cherev beinoy lebeinoh. Omar, and this is what he says to his wife, Bas HaMelech kol ha'oisek ba'davar hazeh. Anybody who starts making any moves here, yidokar b'cherev, ouch, will be stabbed by the stone, by the sword. V'haksiv v'yelach ita isha, it says that he went with her she went with him as a husband. Nas lo ki isha v'haksiv haloich u'vachai, that when he came, Avner ben Ner came and took her back to David, and he was crying, I lost my wife. To David HaMelech, haloich u'vachai, al mitzvah da'azal minay. Chabal, I could have been married to her, but he never consummated that marriage. Ad Bachurim, they went to a place called Bachurim. The Gemara Darshan Shinasu Shneim Kebachurim. He was still a virgin at that point. So that means Shlit'a mutam bia. He never had relations with Michal. Omar Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan comments on this, and he says, look at this. The Gemara we're quoting here. Takfai shel Yosef an vasanusai shel Boaz. Takfai shel Boaz an vasanusai shel Palti Ben Laish. Rashi says, Takfai shel Yosef an vasanusai shel Boaz. Davar gadol shel Yosef, says Rashi, ki davar kal v'katan shebe Boaz. What was a big deal to Yosef was a piece of cake to Boaz. Tokef davar gadol v'chamor v'yesh lo shem. Tokef means a davar gadol v'chamor. Anova, says Rashi, davar katan she'en lo shem. She'adam oisei lefi tumai. So here's a new definition Rashi is forced to introduce to us for what is gadol and what is anav. So gadol means Tokef davar gadol v'chamor. Tokef means, right? Ma'aseh Mordechai v'chol tokfai. Dulosai. And anava doesn't only mean humble, but humble in the sense that a very small thing, throw away. So it means that Yosef. Here's what we need to understand. Yosef had an Nisayan. Look at the Dimyan that Rav Yochanan is thinking, call it to her gula. Yosef had a Nisayan. Let's think about who had the Nisayan of this world in terms of Nashim. Yosef had a Nisayan. Boaz had a Nisayan. And Palti Ben Laish had a Nisayan. Don't you, Rav Yochanan? He had a Nisayan, he didn't pass. So what's the Takvai Shel Yosef? This was huge, says Rabbi Yochanan. It was huge for Yosef to resist. Don't underestimate what he had to do to resist the Eishes Potifar. It was a huge thing. Not Pashat at all. Yosef Atzadik, yeah, but that's how. That's the pshat. That's how he became. But it was. And then who did he marry? His daughter. Like something going on there, because this was not Ishafchia, but Iskafia. It was an Iskafia. Is it harder or is it easier? It's harder. Iskafia is harder than Ishafchia. But it's what it is. It is what it is. So what it was with Yosef is a going against one's grain completely. It was taikvay shel Yosef. This is the taikvay shel Yosef. Huh?
Brute force.
Yeah. Brute force. And v'sanosai shel Boaz, but this was easy for Boaz. What was easy for Boaz? Because the Megillah Ruth, it describes that Ruth received an eitzah from Naomi that the way she's going to get Boaz to be the goyal, to redeem the family, was by crawling next to him and next to his feet. Tachas hasimla. Okay. The Rishonim say that Ruth said, this is very odd. This is an odd way for to bring Mashiach. Interesting, no? Odd way to bring Mashiach, but Shama, she listened to Naomi. Whatever you say, I will do. That's what she said. Whatever you say, I will do. She was makabel from Naomi. Whatever you say, I'll do. So she did it. It was connected her common sense. And Boaz resisted her. He said, maybe there's another goel. If you look there in Parag Gimel of Rus, another goel. And at the end, he married her. So, here's another place of Nisayan. You have the Nisayan of Yosef and the Nisayan of Boaz. But the Nisayan of Boaz was a nova compared to Yosef. It's not a big deal. An vasanusai yitakvay shel Yosef an vasanusai shel Boaz. And then
Which one you say was hard?
Yosef was hard. What was hard for Yosef was a piece of cake for Boaz. So was the Gemara. And takvay shel Boaz, and as hard, as easy as it was considered hard. Well, the hard part about it for Boaz was on vasanusai shel Palti Ben Laish. Palti Ben Laish was mamish. Palti Ben Laish lived with a beauty queen, literally, the Michal Bashol. Think about like the yichus, everything else. No, Chazal and the Alkatar or Medayikim. Like, what did he even stay? What did he sleep with her in the same bed? That they have to put a sword in between. It was nothing for him. It was like the Tanaim that would dance with the kala on their shoulder. It was nothing for him. It was a different madreg. So that's Palti Ben Laish. We'll talk about him later. Takvay shel Yosef. See the psukim. Takvay shel Yosef an vasanusay shel Boaz tefsi vayi b'chatzi halayla by Rus. Vayi b'chatzi halayla mitnacht vayechrad haish vayi lofes. That's what it says in Rus. That here she is. Who's this lady? By vayi lofes amarav shenasa b'sorei karoishe lefasek. He was Pashut Pshat is that he was not aroused by this. Takvay shel Boaz and vasanusay shel Palti Ben Laish Kedamar Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mali Desiv. It says in Mishlei, important psukim, Rabbis Banois Asu Chayil Va'at Alis Al Kulana. Many daughters have done valor, but you are above them all. Rabbis Banois Asu Chayil Ze Yosef U Boaz. Rabbis Banois Asu Chayil is going on the men. So Yosef and Boaz that were able to resist. Yosef with difficulty, Boaz easier. Va'at alis al kulana, but you want to know who took over all of them? Zeh Palti Ben Laish. So it was. Okay.
With Moshe Rabbeinu and Tzipporah? That's different.
Okay. Omer of Shmuel Bar Nachman, Omer of Yonah, might receive Sheker Hachein veHevel HaYoifi. Sheker Hachein ze Yosef. Hevel HaYoifi ze Boaz. Yiras Hashem Hitisalo ze Palti Ben Laish. So we have three levels here, which Chazal are clear that there's three levels that they keep on coming up and darshaning all kinds of psukim. Whether we're darshaning Rabbis Banos HaSuchayav Atalis Al Kulana, or sheker achein v'hevel hayofi. So sheker achein ze Yosef. What does that mean, sheker achein? Hevel hayofi ze Boaz. This is important because all of history is happening right now. What's the sheker achein? The Yosef was, let's line this up on our chart. The Tukfoi Shel Yosef. What was his koach? Sheker achein.
Yeah, to himself, this is it. No, he saw that what she brought forward that on the outside made it look like it was a chain. She was trying to seduce him. Was really sheker. He had the chain too, right?
And he had the chain, she had the chain, and the chain is sheker. Sheker achein. But chain is also taiva. So it's taiva. In other words, Yosef understood that this is a davar chitzoni. This is something which is taiva. It's like eating when you're trying not to eat. Like it's like if you make a cheshbon. If you're trying not to eat something, if you make a cheshbon, I'm going to have 10 seconds of hana, and every time I do this for 10 seconds of hana, I'm having like years of grief. So like a person has to make a decision: do I want to live for the moment, or do I want to live? Period. Not that I'm very good at this, but I just check. So the concept here is sheker achein. It's chain. By mir bis to shein, by mir has to chain. Chain is lashon chinam. Chain is lashon chinam. The Gonuz says that Esther Irak Rekes, Esther was not a beautiful woman. She was Irak Rekes. She was green, she had a bad complexion. But no sas chain, she had chain. So chain it was just a type of a charm that she had that everybody thought she was beautiful. And we call Echa didn't like you, Masai, but she wasn't really beautiful. So sheker achein, Yosef understood that I'm not going to succumb to this temptation here. It was tukfoi shel Yosef. That was the strength, the koach. It was a tremendous amount of gibor, of gura. Hevel hayofi. Hevel is a different level, because first of all, achein, it's yofi. So hevel hayofi it was in a bigger madrega of hevel that not just is this like deceiving to me. It's not real. But it's hevel. It's just for me. I'm above this. It's pasmernished. It's the hevel hayofi. So this is this difference between. Let's leave Palti Ben Laish out. Just talk about just while we're here. Just need to say this gemara because it has to fit in. Sheker achein the derish al Moshe. Hevel hayofi. Zadar Shel Yeshua. Yiras Hashem hi tisalo, which is presumably we're going from a lower madrega to a higher madrega. Remember, so Moshe, deeper or more ingrained was Yeshua, and we don't want to see where the real Yiras Hashem hi tisalo, where the blossom was. Haflu v'fela Zadar Shel Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. It was the door of Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. Time of the Romans, Amar Alav al Darish or Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi Shal Yeshisha Talmidim Miskasim B'Talos Echad Achas V'Oiskim B'Tayr, where they were so poor that 6 people were sharing a talos. Stay warm. V'Oiskim B'Tayr. Okay, the cold doesn't make you any great tzaddik, but you're cold and you're learning, that makes you a great tzaddik. It was the ksois, like the ksois in the Hakdama, maybe to the Shab Shmaitza. He writes that he apologizes for using Rashi Tevis instead of spelling out the whole word, like you have to figure out the Rashi Tevis. But he says that this is a problem that the ink was freezing by the time we got to the paper. Couldn't write big words. Now ink is made out of alcohol. It's got to be pretty darn cold and like this he's writing big size, like half of a fellow. Like this he's writing big size with the ink, which is not coming off the biro over here. We're not talking about like I can't learn. Turn on the air conditioner. We're talking about like. So this is the Dairai Show Rabbi Yehuda or Eloi. This is sort of speaking about at the beginning. the initiation process of Gadlus, of Malchus, of Yuras Hashem Hitisalo, the initiation of what Gedolei Hadar, like Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai, went through in order to. By the way, if you go to the kever of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai, six kvarim there, which the Arizal says these were the Shisha Mischas. These are the Shisha Mischas and Talzach. You know, on the way to Meron, you can go there to school for Parnasa if anybody needs Parnasa for something. So it's a school for Parnasa.
We hire a bus.
I was there a few months ago. I was just like, this guy who drove up in this Amish beautiful Mercedes. So I said, why are you coming here? So he said, it's a school for Parnasa. I told him, why don't you sell your car? So he says to me, this is really, he says to me, so maybe I have to come all the way here for somebody to give me that 8 cent. You know, it's exclusive from you. Yeah. Oh, your car, you have the school of Rashiras. You don't know what it's a couple 100,000 shekel anyways, no? Okay, but I just wanted this Indian of Yisoid. So here's what we got. Let's just sum this up, and then we'll finish it up later. Just make this important distinction between Yisoid and Malchus, which is the difference between Yosef and Boaz, which is the difference between Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben Dovid. So it wasn't just a random comparison that the Gemara says Takvei Shel Yosef is the Anvasanusei Shel Boaz. We're talking about Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben Dovid. So, and it's the difference between Iskafia and Ishafia. That's the difference, because we're talking about a toikev means an Iskafia. I'm forcing this. But it's not yet malchus. The Midas HaYisoid is still hovering above the earth. It's still doing the tikun habris. It's a hard place to be. Mashiach ben Yosef. I think it's like the door that we're in. It's a hard place to be right before the ikvus of the Mashiach. It's a hard place to be before the Yisgalus of Mashiach ben David. And it has to go so far that as tzemach David, it has to be so far that it has to be completely destroyed in the earth. Doesn't mean that it hurts. It means that it's a challenge. Until you get a tzemach David abducha meheres hatzmiach, where you have a ishafchia. Like, just think of it in terms of life. You know, at the beginning of any venture of self-discipline, so it starts off with this kafia until you conquer that. The kovish is yitzray. Do you know that what I think? I'm just saying what I think. I'm not saying a chazal. I'm not saying a basul sisham. I think that if a person has the koach to deny oneself of something that they want but they shouldn't have, if you're b'machloekes, like with a piece of cake, let's say. So I think that's the most empowering moment that you can experience. Empowering moment. You have now changed the positioning where you are shoylet on the cake and the cake is not shoylet on you. The cake or the burger or the woman or the whatever it might be. And the whole you drive through the world, you drive through the United States and look at the billboards, It's all about the cake, the burger, the woman. Like every single every single burger. What are they? Not sitting there, unless they're put up by the born again Christians. They're like all the cake, the burger,
you owe it to yourself.
Yeah, you owe it to yourself. Magi alecha. It's look at. Don't look, but that's
why we're here.
That's what it is, and it's all the Shlit'a. It's all making money on the Shlit'a that the cake has over you. That's what it is. Just so when you get to the big piece of cake, okay, it's a piece of cake. like what's the it was a piece of cake. Like what was the big deal? A minute later you forgot how it tasted.
That's what I see.
It's easy
Look,
for
you know, you drive, you know, I downloaded when I was driving through the States a few months ago. I was like driving. It was like a crazy trip. I was driving through north to south to Florida to New York. So I downloaded a Starbucks app. So it's gewaldic. Whenever you're whenever on your iPhone, whenever you're within 5 miles of a Starbucks, it starts to beep beep, and a map pops up and it tells you how to get there. Like this is for the ultimate Palti. It's just so good. Map how to get there. Doesn't it? Okay. Well, coffee's different. It's not like cake or but it's so hafladik, like how. So the Mashiach ben Yosef is the midas hayisoid, the midah of this tikun of the bris, the midah of iskafia, the midah of being able to. But if one can be kovesh this, it's so empowering. That empowerment is malchus. What then is malchus if not to be empowered?
How did you do fear? You lose malchus.
Leave Yehuda alone for a minute. What then? Because it was the shayrish of malchus. At first, he was in between Yesod and malchus. But what then is malchus? So takfei shel Yosef. It was so difficult for Yosef, but that's Mashiach ben Yosef. That's the hachana. But that was on vasanusai shel Boaz, where the Rav Tzadok tells us, sentence 1, that this was the original or the first this ability to be able to have this in your pocket. Was the beginning of the hisnoitzus of the Ohr HaGonuz. The Ohr HaGonuz, it was so Gonuz, deeper and deeper, started to blossom. Mashiach ben Yosef is not an independent concept of Mashiach ben Dovid. It's a hachana for Mashiach ben Dovid. So maybe even in our own lives, so you have to go through a Yosef, and then you have to go through a Dovid. But that's the takfei shel Yosef hu an basanasei shel. And we're not even talking about Palti Ben Laish. Wow, like what was that and who was he and what was where but how he stood between Malchus Shaul and Malchus Dovid.
Why is he here? Why?
Because he stood between Malchus Shaul and Malchus Dovid. He shared a wife. There was one woman who was from Shaul and Dovid. This is a transition. The link. Okay. Yom Tov.